So I got to do a disclaimer. I was trying to say tints, tones, and shades. White and a color is a tint. Black and a color is a shade. Gray and a color is a tone. Got it? Sorry I screwed up in that, but so that's my prequel to my video. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Hey everybody, it's me again, Denise. I'm coming at you because I want to talk to you a little bit about painting. Not so much painting, but about color theory. And I just want to give you my take on it. So I work with acrylic, and I work with a variety of different paints. Brushes are important, but I think more important is that if a person paints. So I want to show you what I use. This is a yellow, and it's an acrylic. I use every acrylic because I'm a water-based person. I can't work in oils anymore. It's just really hard with my breathing, and I have allergies to it. So I use acrylics, and I think they're pretty sophisticated today, that you can find stuff that really has a feel of oils if that's what you want. So this is a Winsor Newton cadmium yellow medium. I have a naphthol red, which is very much like a cadmium, but it's cheaper. A phthalo blue. It's pretty dark, but it has a transparent quality. I have a titanium white. There's a zinc white. This is a lot brighter. And I have a Mars black. And the reason I like Mars black because it has a cool or blue tone. And we'll talk about warm tones and cool tones. It's kind of hard sometimes because people get mixed up with that. And for me, I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible. So, and I'll put out more videos, but for me, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the colors. I'm going to put some colors out for you. These are primary colors, and the primary colors are basically colors that if mixed together will create every color you need. Now white and black, white will give you a tint. So white plus a color is a tint. White, black plus a color is a shade. You mix black and white together to get a gray, and then that becomes mixed with a color or tone. And I'll write that down for you. You'll see it on the screen. So I just use water, and you can thin down your paint as much or as little as possible. And as you notice, this yellow is very transparent. But again, I have it watered down quite a bit. Now, if I'm going to mix that with red, what you start getting, depending on how much color you mix together. So if I mix a lot more yellow with my red, it's going to take on an orange. Orange is a secondary because these are primary colors. And you always need primary. It's at its highest chroma when you buy it. And we'll talk about chroma, which is its brightness when it comes out of the tube. Now, when I mix it with obviously the yellow, you're going to get an orange. But you say, well, yeah, there's a little bit of a difference, but there's not a lot. If I were to mix more, I'm going to put the yellow here, more yellow, you would get a deeper, more, I don't know how to say this, probably a brighter orange. Okay? So there's orange. When you mix red, and yellow, both primary colors. Okay? And you say to yourself, wow, okay, I got that. So now I want to look at a blue. Again, this is a phthalo. It's a transparent color, meaning that you can see through it. Okay? I'm painting on cardboard, by the way. So you can see through this, meaning that if I took this phthalo and painted over the red, you could see through it. You could see through onto the yellow. Now, as you notice, as I paint over the yellow with blue, yellow and blue make green. Okay? Blue's a cool color. So if I were to take some yellow and blue, again, depending on how much I take, it comes out of green. Also, you have to, and look at how transparent that green is. It's transparent. It comes across. I hope in the video that you can see through it. That you can see through the green, and underneath you can see the blue. Now, if I were to mix white with the blue, or white with this green that's on here, obviously you're going to get a tint. And a tint is white plus a color. All right? So tints were used a lot within the Impressionist period, which started around 1864, 1865, maybe a little earlier. Basically, they didn't believe in using black. They also were getting an impression of light, the feeling of the light, the chroma from the sky, from the sun, from the reflection off the blue sky. And so a lot of that, when you go outside, you have a lot of tints. Now, if I were to take this green tint, add a little black to it, all right, what you have now is a gray tone of green. So values are white and black mixed together. And as you notice, it gets lighter. And as I add more black, it gets darker. So these are values. But when you have a gray value and you mix it with a yellow, let's say, it's going to take on a whole nother color. What I love about Mars black is that if you mix it with yellow, because it's a blue-based black versus the other black is, there's Mars, and then there is, it's like an ivory black. It has a warm tone. But if you see this, what starts happening is you start getting a green color. I'll add a little white so you can see. It's kind of a sap, almost like a, well, that's too much. But what yellow and black does is create a green. Now what has happened is I haven't put any primer on this piece of cardboard, so you're getting the feel of the paint drying quickly because there's nothing in there to sustain it on the top of the surface. And what gesso does, or primer, gesso is just again a fancy name for primer. It holds the paint on the surface. So I just wanted to play around with colors for you right now. If you mix blue and red, you're going to get a violet. Now, technically, people call red and blue violet, but purple, I should say. But really, in essence, the kind of artsy-fartsy name is violet. So you'll see a red. So when you're looking at something that has a lot of blue in a red, like a plum color, It's called a red violet. You always start out with the primary color first and then the secondary color. So secondary is orange, purple or violet, and green. So you would say, oh, there's yellow with some green in it. So it would be a yellow green. Okay. Then I'd say, oh my goodness, I love that green because it has a lot of yellow in it. But if I add white to it, it's going to take on a tint of a color. Now look at it, it's practically white because the white has dominated the color. Now, if I were to add some red to that, but there's also some green in it, it's still a very light tint of red. But it's, again, it's a tint. So tint and white and color. A black and a color is a shade. I'm running out of room here. But gray with a color, gray plus color is a shade. So when someone talks about a shade of blue, they're actually referring to, or a shade of red, they're talking about gray and red, or gray and blue, or gray and green. So I just wanted to give you kind of a quick overview of, one, the paints I use. These are primaries. Blue, red, and yellow are primary colors. Secondary colors are green, orange, and purple. Again, fancy name, violet. You add white to this violet color. And yes, it looks kind of muddy because I've mixed other colors in it. But what you're getting is a tone of violet, because gray and a color is a tone. So there are tint, tones, and shades. Shade is black in a color. Tint is white in a color. Shade is gray in a color. And if you mix them all together, you're going to get a lovely brown. Or sometimes green, depending on what you have. But it basically, when you mix things together that are complements, let me mix some more red in here because I ran out of red, you'll get a beautiful brown color. So sometimes you don't even have to buy brown. If you're painting a landscape and you are on with a limited palette, let's say you're out in the middle of a field and you're painting, and yet you need to make colors and you don't have the brown, you can actually make a beautiful brown. Let me add some white to this so you can see a lighter version of it. You can add some brown. Oh, excuse me. You can mix your colors together. If you look at that, since I have a lot of red in it and blue, it's becoming a beautiful violet. I think it's now if I add more red to this, it will take on a red tone. That is a tone because it's gray. There's a grayish tone to it because I've mixed the complements together. Little confusing. Maybe it's too much. I'm going to break things down more for you. But I wanted you to get a good idea of how you can paint. And all you really need are 3 colors, which are the primary ones, and black and white, which are your values here. Okay? So I'm signing out, and I'm going to talk more about painting and how one creates different sort of things with paint. Really, and it's really, again, personal taste, depending on how you see yourself as a painter and how you want to express yourself. Maybe you want to do abstraction. Maybe you want to paint realism. Maybe you're saying, oh, I want to learn more about brush strokes, or I want to learn about thickness of paint, which is impasto. Maybe I want to do transparent painting and have the canvas show through. Really, it just depends on what you want to convey in your artwork. So I'm going to sign off now.